गंधार्विक गिरिधारी श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार श्रील भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत शिशिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु महाभगवत श्रील गोरक्षदास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्रील जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरिय गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर प्रसाद वृंद की जय। नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विदग्ध गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। We'll do Mangalacharan and then begin. Ajnanatimidandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. Guruve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaye krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tadbhaktaya namo namaha. Shri Siddhanta Sarasvatī ti vidito Gaudiya Gurvanvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanai Maya Varati Mingilo Daragatan Udritya Jiva Niman Krishna Prema Sudapti Gahana Sukham Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje Vande Bhakti Vinodang Shri Gaura Shakti Sarupakam Bhakti Shastragya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudha Nidhim Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanugavarayate Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vrishabhanusutan Vitavamatanum Yamuna Tatanagarananda Sutam Murali Kalagita Vinoda Parang Bhajagodrumakanana Kunja Vidum Smaragoragadadara Kelikalam Bhavagoragadadhara Pakshachara Shrinugoragadadhara Charukatang Bhajagodrumakanana Kunja javidum. Tavaivasmi, na jivami tvaya vina, iti vigyaya devi tvang, nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay, kshiptascha kamaditarangamadhe, kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna, vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Vaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Akash Prabhu, and Deepika Didi, and let's see who else is there. Madhubala Didi, Ganga Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Indira Mataji, and all the other devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Balaba Didi, Ananda Pradayani Didi, Vrinda Didi, Anuradha Mataji, and everybody else. Thank you so much for joining. So there's been a change of plans. Yesterday I mentioned that I probably wouldn't be able to do a program today because I'd be traveling to Navadvip. But due to bad weather, my flight was canceled, and so I will be traveling tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be traveling later in the morning, so I'll be able to do a program tomorrow as well. So right now we are preparing. We're preparing for this new program, going through Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's songs. Some of you haven't joined the other programs, I don't think, and so just so you know, I wrote all the details on my website, vineofdevotion.com. But yeah, the day after tomorrow, we will. Sorry, my mind's a little bit scattered right now, but yeah, we will have a 5-week program to go through the songs of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. And we did this program that it's called the Bhaktivinoda Giti Dhara. We did this program last year, and we went through all the songs of Sharanagati. Every day we'd go through one song. But this time, we're gonna have an overview of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's songs, and the way I organized his songs into 5 categories, and so each week we'll go through one category, and at the beginning of each week, I'm going to send a Google form with all the songs in that category, and it has just like a 1-sentence summary of each song, and then you can go through those songs, look through them, and see which song stands out to you, which one just, and you can select 4 songs, and those will be the 4 songs that you will focus on in the first week, and especially one song, and then out of those 4, we'll narrow it down to one song, and yeah, so we're going to do that over the next 5 weeks, and then at the end of that program, then we're going to have the Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura retreat, and so for those who are joining, we'll focus on one song a day, one of those songs that you selected. All right, so today's article that we're reading is by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupād. He wrote this in English, and it's been a while since I've read it, so it's very high-level English. My English isn't so high, so and I haven't looked at it for a while, so we might have to look up some words and things. But it's such a powerful article, though. Yeah. Anyways, you'll see. But I thought to read this before we start our program, so that we know how to approach the words of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. What mood and with what understanding do we approach his words? So that's why we are doing this before the Bhaktivinoda Gita Thara program starts. Okay, so Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, a speciality of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's Vāṇī. This was written in English in Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur Prabhupād's magazine, The Harmonist, December 1931, volume 29, number 6. Okay. One second, I need to... One second, I'm gonna... I just want to be able to see when people join the program. Right there. So, his specific kindness to those engrossed in all kinds of mental speculation. We avail of the opportunity offered by the anniversary celebrations of the advent of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda to reflect on the right method of obtaining those benefits that have been made accessible to humanity by the grace of this great devotee of Krishna. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda has been specifically kind to those unfortunate persons who are engrossed in mental speculation of all kinds. This is the prevalent malady of the present age. The other acharyas who appeared before Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda did not address their discourses so directly to the empiric thinkers. They had been more merciful to those who are naturally disposed to listen to discourses on the Absolute without being dissuaded by the specious arguments of avowed opponents of Godhead. And I made this point the other day, but you see, like, in all the scriptures of our acharyas before Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, so Vrindavan Das Thakur, Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj Gosvāmī, Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and all our Goswāmīs, all their books, they were writing them for those who had faith. Those who already had faith in Mahaprabhu. You see, I also mentioned this at the time, like Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur, he says, those who have no faith in my Nitai, I kick their heads, like, so they weren't addressing those who don't have faith. And those, right, where does it say? They had been more merciful to those who were naturally disposed to listen to discussions on the Absolute without being dissuaded by the specious arguments of avowed opponents of Godhead. Śrīla Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda has taken the trouble of meeting the perverse arguments of mental speculationists by the superior transcendental logic of the Absolute Truth. It is thus possible for the average modern readers to profit by the perusal of his writings. That day is not far distant when the priceless volumes penned by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda will be reverentially translated by the recipients of his grace into all the languages of the world. That's Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's mercy. Even those who like to depend on their own intelligence to try to understand the truth, and the mental speculationists, he was merciful even to them. His writings are meant for those people as well. It's not just meant for those with faith. The writings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda provide the golden bridge by which the mental speculationists can safely cross the raging waters of fruitless empiric controversies that trouble the peace of those who choose to trust in their guidance for finding the absolute truth. For finding the truth. As soon as a sympathetic reader is in a position to appreciate the sterling quality of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda's philosophy, the entire vista of the revealed literatures of the world will automatically open out to his reclaimed vision. It is not possible to understand the message of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda without securing his guiding grace. And if anybody wants me to stop at any point, I see, wow, a lot more devotees joined. I see there are 7 devotees there. If you write a comment, I'll see your name right here. I'll see who you are. But pranams to whoever joined just now. Yeah, and if there's at any point you want me to go over a sentence or a point a little bit more, just let me know. So it is not possible to understand the message of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda without securing his guiding grace. There have, however, already arisen serious misunderstandings regarding the proper interpretation of the life and teachings of Śrīla Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. Those who suppose they understand the meaning of his message without securing the guiding grace of the Acharya are disposed to unduly favor the methods of empiric study of his writings. There are many scholars. You'll find scholars in universities who are very familiar with Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's work. All his writing, his conception, like what he says about different things, and maybe even more so than most devotees. But there are persons who have got by heart almost everything that he wrote, without being able to catch the least particle of his meaning. Such study cannot benefit those who are not prepared to act up according to the instructions lucidly conveyed by his words. So, just a mental understanding, empiric understanding, is no understanding when it comes to Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's words. You only understand it to the extent that you've got his mercy by trying to follow those words, basically. There is no honest chance of missing the warnings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. He writes about this everywhere. So there's only one way to access what he is saying through his words. And he mentions this everywhere, and so there's no honest chance of missing these warnings of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Those, therefore, who are misled by the perusal of his writings are led astray by their own obstinate perversity in striking to the empiric course, which they prefer to cherish against his explicit warnings. Let these unfortunate people look more carefully into their own hearts for the cause of their misfortunes. The personal service of the pure devotee is essential for understanding the spiritual meaning of the words of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. Not your own material understanding of the meaning, the material meaning of his words, the external meaning. No, you need to perform personal service to a pure devotee. That is essential for understanding the spiritual meaning of the words of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. The editor of this journal, and I think he's referring to himself, Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur Prabhupada is referring to himself there, because he's the editor of the journal. He says, the editor of this journal, originally started by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, has been trying to draw the attention of all the followers of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda to this all-important point of his teachings. It is not necessary to try to place ourselves on a footing of equality with Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. We are not likely to benefit by any mechanical imitation of any practices of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda on the opportunist principle that they may be convenient for us to adopt. The Guru is not an erring mortal whose activities can be understood by the fallible reason of unreclaimed humanity. Unreclaimed, right? Because we're under the control, humanity who's under the control of Maya, even though it's the nature of humanity, of all living entities, to serve Krishna. That's their inherent nature. But that nature of theirs has not been reclaimed yet. So the unreclaimed humanity means under the control of Maya. So the Guru is not an erring mortal whose activities can be understood by the fallible reason of unreclaimed humanity. There is an eternal there's an eternally impassable line of demarcation between the Savior and the saved. There's a big difference between the Patit Pavan, the Savior of the fallen, and the Patit, the fallen. Those who are really saved can alone know this. Only when you're really saved by Guru and you understand what mercy he's given you, how magnanimous he is, how much, what, only then can you understand, oh, okay, I'm not on the same level as my Savior. It's an impossible line of demarcation between us. So Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda belongs to the category of the spiritual world's teachers who eternally occupy the superior position. He is the Savior. We are the saved. The teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda cannot be accessed by hearing from someone who is not devoted. The present editor has all along felt it his paramount duty to try to clear up the meaning of the life and teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda by the method of submissive listening to the transcendental sound from the lips of the pure devotee. The Guru, who realizes the transcendental meaning of all sounds, that Guru is in a position to serve the Absolute by direction of the Absolute conveyed through every sound. The transcendental sound is Godhead. The mundane sound is non-Godhead. All sound has got these opposite aptitudes. All sound reveals its divine face to the devotees and only presents its deluding aspect to the empiric pedant. And pedant, one second. Pedant, dogmatist. A person who is excessively concerned with minor details and rules or without displaying academic learning. Okay. And then an example they give, the royal palace. Some pedants would say the ex-royal palace. Okay. So all sound reveals its divine face to the devotee and only presents its deluding aspect to the empiric pedant. Haribol Chatamai Mataji and Nri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji. And Kishori Mohan Prabhu. Yes, he says my favorite lecture ever. So important. Yes, it's my favorite, probably one of my favorites as well, definitely. Okay. I love this point right here. It says, the devotee talks apparently the same language as the deluded empiric pedant who had got by heart the vocabulary of the scriptures. But, notwithstanding apparent identity of performance, one has no access to the reality, while the other is absolutely free from all delusion. Such an important point. So you'll hear two people, they're saying exactly the same words. There's the pure devotee and there's the empiric pedant. And they're speaking the exact same words of scripture. Everything's fully, but one has zero access to what they're saying of reality. And so whatever they're saying is false. And the other is absolutely free from all delusion. Those who repeat the teachings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda from memory do not necessarily understand the meaning of the words they mechanically repeat. Those who can pass an empiric examination regarding the contents of his writings are not necessarily also self-realized souls. You might get an A+ on the test of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's teachings and not have any idea of his teachings. It's not a mental thing. They may not know at all the real meaning of the words they have learned by the method of empiric study. Take, for example, the name Krishna. Every reader of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda's works must be aware that the name manifests himself on the lips of his serving devotees, right? Sevon muke hijiva adao. Although he is inaccessible to our mundane senses. Krishna, his name, is inaccessible to our mundane senses. It is one thing to pass the examination by reproducing this true conclusion from the writings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda. Yeah, I can answer that question. Yes, Nam and Nami are non-different. You can pass that on the test, the written exam. But it is quite another matter to realize the nature of the holy name of Krishna by the process conveyed by the words, but to actually understand what that means. Not for it just to be a theoretical thing, but to actually understand is to have realization that Nam is non-different from Nami is a completely other different thing. Haribol Champak Mataji. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda did not want us to go to the clever mechanical reciter of the mundane sound for obtaining access to the transcendental name of Krishna. Such a person may be fully equipped with all the written arguments and explanation of the nature of the divine name. They can name every single verse about Nam Tattva. They can recite all the verses, and they can give a beautiful class explaining and a moving, beautiful class on the glories of the name. But if we listen to all these arguments from the dead source, the words will only increase our delusion. Even though everything they're saying is accurate, everything they're saying is completely in line with Shastra, everything they're saying is fully in line. It's fully Shastra. But those words will increase our delusion. The very same words coming from the lips of the devotee will have the diametrically opposite effect. Our empiric judgment can never grasp the difference between the two performances. Yeah, our empiric judgment, externally it looks the same. Looks like they're saying the exact same thing. Wow, that was a really nice class that this person gave who isn't a pure devotee. The devotee is always right. The non-devotee, in the shape of the empiric pedant, is always and necessarily wrong. In the one case, there is always present the substantive truth, and nothing but the substantive truth. In the other case, there is present the apparent or misleading hypothesis, and nothing but untruth. The wording may have the same external appearance in both cases. The non-devotee may recite verses from the scriptures identical to the ones recited by the devotee. And the devotee may even apparently misquote something. But the corresponding values of the two processes remain always categorically different. The devotee is right even when he apparently misquotes. The non-devotee is wrong even when he quotes correctly the very words, chapter, and verse of the scriptures. Because these words are a completely transcendental thing. And so your access to the words, your understanding of the words depends how much those words have been revealed to you by the pure devotee and how much you're following those words, how much you're embodying those words. That's the pure devotee. And so even if they accidentally say this song of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is actually, they say it's Narottam Das Ṭhākura, or they might misquote a verse or something, but still what they said is true because it has the power. They're living the words. And somebody else who says the verse correctly, they say, oh yeah, this is by Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and they quote everything correctly. What they say is wrong because they haven't realized those words. That there's no power there's no power in those words coming out of their mouth because they aren't following it. The direct, unambiguous appearance of divinity. It is not empiric wisdom that is the object of quest of the devotee. Those who read the scriptures for gathering empiric wisdom will be pursuing a wild goose chase. And there are not a few dupes of their empiric scriptural erudition. There's many dupes. What is the word dupe? A dupe is Well, that's the verb, to dupe. Where's the adjective? I mean, the noun. Here. Okay, so a duplicate or copy of something. I had dupes of a lot of programs on my laptop. Anyways, and dupe is to deceive or trick. The newspaper was duped into publishing, but a dupe, a person who is a dupe. Okay, here. You were an innocent dupe in Caroline's little game. You were a victim, a gull, pawn, puppet, instrument, fool, simpleton, innocent. So a victim of being cheated, right? So there are not a few dupes of their empiric scriptural erudition. There are many of them. These dupes have their admiring under-dupes. But the mutual admiration society of dupes does not escape, by the mere weight of their number, the misfortunes due to the deliberate pursuit of the wrong course in accordance with the suggestion of our lower selves. So just because the majority of people think something, these people who are these dupes, and they're the under-dupes, that doesn't mean that just because popular opinion thinks this, that the misfortunes due to their wrong course in accordance with the suggestions of their lower selves. That does not escape the mere way of it. Okay, yeah. Anyways, you get that. What are the scriptures? What is Shastra? What are the scriptures? They are nothing but the record by the pure devotees of the divine message appearing on the lips of the pure devotees. Right? For us, what is Shastra? The works of our Gosvāmīs, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, would we consider that Shastra? Srimad Bhagavatam, is that Shastra? That's the words of Shukadev Goswami. All the Chaitanya Charitamrita, do we consider that Shastra? That's the words of a pure devotee, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, and for us, Jaiva Dharma, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's writings. So what are the scriptures? They are nothing but the record by the pure devotees of the divine message appearing on the lips of the pure devotees. The message conveyed by the devotees is the same in all ages. The words of the devotees are ever identical with the scriptures. Any meaning of the scriptures that belittles the function of the devotee, who is the original communicant of the divine message, contradicts its own claim to be heard. Those who think that the Sanskrit language in its lexicographical sense is the language of divinity are as deluded as those who hold that the divine message is communicable through any other spoken dialects. Because many people think, oh no, only those who know Sanskrit can understand the message, and I know Sanskrit, so therefore I can, I can explain the truth, because I understand what all the words in the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam means. But those people are as deluded that think that the message can be communicable through any other spoken languages. All languages simultaneously express and hide the absolute. So your perfect understanding of Sanskrit, your Sanskrit can also hide the absolute. The mundane face of all languages hides the truth. The transcendental face of all sounds expresses nothing but the absolute. The pure devotee is the speaker of the transcendental language. The transcendental sound makes his appearance on the lips of his pure devotee. This is the direct, unambiguous appearance of divinity. On the lips of non-devotees, the absolute always appears in his deluding aspect. To the pure devotee, the absolute reveals himself under all circumstances. Doesn't matter what language he's speaking, the absolute will and to the pure devotee, the absolute reveals himself under all circumstances. To the conditioned soul, if he is disposed to listen in a truly submissive spirit, the language of the pure devotee can alone impart the knowledge of the absolute. The conditioned soul mistakes the deluding for the real aspect when he chooses to lend his ear to the non-devotees. To the non-devotee. This is the reason why the conditioned soul is warned to avoid all association with non-devotees. His teachings demolish the empiric method of approaching the Absolute. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda is acknowledged by all his sincere followers as possessing the above powers of the pure devotee of Godhead. His words have to be received from the lips of a pure devotee. If his words are listened to from the lips of a non-devotee, they will certainly deceive. If his works are studied in the light of one's own worldly experience, their meaning will refuse to disclose itself to such readers. And this is one point. Lots of times people say that no, I only read what Śrīla Prabhupāda has written, and I don't read anything else. I don't want to hear anything else. I'm only Śrīla Prabhupāda's purports, only Śrīla Prabhupāda's writings. And then maybe after I read all of Śrīla Prabhupāda's books many times and have gone so deeply into them, then maybe I'll read, something from another acharya. But I'm just focused on Śrīla Prabhupada. But then if you're just trying to approach Śrīla Prabhupāda's words directly yourself, well, then you're going to just be you're going to be reading Śrīla Prabhupāda's words with your own understanding, with your own filter. And so you actually won't be able to actually see what Śrīla Prabhupada is saying, because it's being filtered, it's being colored by your own conceptions of things. And so the words of one pure devotee shine light on another pure devotee. So Śrīla Prabhupāda's teachings help us understand Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's writings. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's writings helps us understand Śrīla Prabhupāda's writings. And we want to see our acharyas' words, we want to see their words from the viewpoint of the other acharyas. We want to see it from, we want to see Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura from Śrīla Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupāda's perspective. We want to see, and on this documentary that we made, The Gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are devotees saying, I think Padra Mataji, she was saying that after she came in touch with our Gurudev, over time, she said Śrīla Prabhupāda's, I think she said this, I could be wrong, but she said over time Śrīla Prabhupāda's words started to become a little bit more dry to her, not as exciting. But then all of a sudden, when she came in touch with Śrīla Gurudev, then all of a sudden, she said it was like Śrīla Prabhupāda's words were just dancing on the page. I just couldn't stop reading them. And it was like a whole new experience, because she wasn't seeing Śrīla Prabhupāda's words from her own perspective anymore. Now she was seeing it from the perspective of a pure devotee. And so this is a really important point. So if his words... So if his works are studied in the light of one's own worldly experience, their meaning, the meaning of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's words, they will refuse to disclose itself to such readers. The words of the pure devotee will be like, no, I'm not going to disclose myself to you. You'll remain hidden to me. Even though you're reading these words, you'll remain hidden, because you're not approaching it in the right spirit. No sevan mukhe jivado. So you won't be able to see anything. Just like some people see ఠાકુરજી, they just see a marble stone, and they don't see that this is actually... So the words are the same thing. They are also ఠાકુરજી for us, right? And so you can either... the words need to disclose themselves to you. His works belong to the class of the eternal revealed literature of the world, and must be approached for their right understanding through their exposition by the pure devotee. Only the pure devotee can reveal the words of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. You can't access them on your own. If no help from the pure devotee is sought, the works of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda will be grossly misunderstood by their readers. The attentive reader of those works will find that he is always directed to throw himself upon the mercy of the pure devotee if he is to not remain unwarrantably self-satisfied by the deluding results of his wrong method of study. I'm just looking at the comments really quickly. Haribol Vidyalasa Didi and Fuleshwari Didi Haribol. And Vidyalasa Didi says, you are so right. Reading the words of our acharyas opens locked doors of Srila Prabhupada's words. They help us understand Srila Prabhupada better. The words become so expansive and alive. Yes. So, the writings of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda are valuable because they demolish all empiric objections against accepting the only method of approaching the Absolute in the right way. They cannot and were never intended to give access to the Absolute without help from the pure devotee of Krishna. They direct the sincere inquirer of the truth, as all the revealed scriptures do, to the pure devotee of Krishna, to learn about him by submitting to listen with an open mind to the transcendental sound appearing on his lips. Yes. The writings of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura cannot replace the pure devotee. Can't say, oh, I don't need to hear. I have people, lots of people say, oh, I have Srila Prabhupada's books. I don't need anything else. I don't need devotees. I have Srila. Before we open any of the books penned by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, we would do well to reflect a little on the attitude with which, as the indispensable prerequisite to approach its study. Okay, so before we open up one of Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's books, before we open up the book, let's just reflect a little bit. What is the attitude on which? What is the indispensable prerequisite to approach the study of this book? What is the attitude I must approach this book with? It is by neglecting to remember this fundamental principle that the empiric pedants find themselves so hopelessly puzzled in their vain endeavor to reconcile the statements of the different texts of the scriptures. The same difficulty is already in the process of overtaking many of the so-called followers of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda for the same reason. And you see that happening nowadays as well. Only the Absolute can give himself. The person to whom the Acharya is pleased to transmit his power is alone in a position to convey the divine message. The pure devotee, if he's pleased and he chooses to transmit his power into someone, then that person is in a position to convey the divine message, otherwise not. This constitutes the underlying principle of the line of succession of spiritual teachers. The Acharya, thus authorized, has no other duty than that of delivering intact the message received from all his predecessors. There is no difference between the pronouncements of one Acharya and another. All of them are perfect mediums for the appearance of divinity in the form of the transcendental name, who is identical with his form, quality, activity, and paraphernalia. The divinity is absolute knowledge. Absolute knowledge has the character of indivisible unity. I love this point here. This is amazing. One particle of absolute knowledge is capable of revealing all the potency of the divinity. Just one particle of absolute knowledge. If you just realize one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, if you realize one sentence from a pure devotee, truly realize it, then that one sentence will reveal all the potency of the divinity. Those who want to understand the contents of the volumes penned by the piecemeal acquisitive method applicable to diluting knowledge available to the mind on the mundane plane are bound to be self-deceived. Those who are sincere seekers of the truth are alone eligible to find him in and through the proper method of his quest. In order to be put on the track of the Absolute, listening to the words of the pure devotee is absolutely necessary. The spoken word of the Absolute is the Absolute. It is only the Absolute who can give himself away to the constituents of his power. Hare Krishna. The Absolute appears to the listening ear of the conditioned soul in the form of the name on the lips of the sadhu. This is the key to the whole position. The words of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda direct the empiric pedant to discard his wrong method and inclination on the threshold of the real quest of the Absolute. If the pedant still chooses to carry his errors into the realm of the Absolute Truth, he only marches by a deceptive bypath into the regions of darker ignorance by his arrogant study of the scriptures. The method offered by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda is identical with the object of the quest. There's no difference between the sadhan and the sadhya. Our sadhan becomes the sadhya, right? Like Harinam, chanting Harinam, that is the ultimate sadhan, but then also Harinam is our sadhya, that is the goal. So the method offered by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda is identical with the object of the quest. The method is not really grasped except by the grace of the pure devotee. The arguments indeed are these, but they can only corroborate, but can never be a substitute for the word from the living source of the truth, who is none other than the pure devotee of Krishna, the concrete personal absolute. His greatest gift. His greatest gift. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda's greatest gift to the world consists in this. What is Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's greatest gift to the world? This is what it is. He has brought about the appearance of those pure devotees who are at present carrying on the movement of unalloyed devotion to the feet of Sri Krishna by their own whole-time spiritual service of the divinity. The purity of the soul is only analogously describable by the resources of the mundane language. Yeah, we can only make analogies of what the soul is. You know, the soul is like a spark from the fire, or like a particle of the sun, but we can't actually understand it. We can make some analogies to try to get some kind of hint at it, but no, we can't. There's no way to actually describe what the soul is. So the purity of the soul is only analogously describable by the resources of the mundane language. The highest ideal of empiric morality is no better than the grossest wickedness to the transcendental perfect purity of the bona fide devotee of the Absolute. The word morality itself is a mischievous misnomer when it is applied to any quality of the conditioned soul. The hypocritical contentment with a negative attitude is part and parcel of the principle of undiluted immorality. Yeah, because you see, yeah, there's no comparison between generosity of this world and magnanimity and all these different qualities, the qualities of this world, the morality of this world, and the morality of the transcendental world. We're just reading yesterday, Śrīla Gosvāmī was explaining that, right? Actually, he's explaining this point very, very clearly in his explanation of the verse Apichet Suduracharo. So, those who pretend to recognize the divine mission of Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda without aspiring for the unconditional service of those pure souls who really follow the teachings of the Ṭhākur by the method enjoined by the scriptures and explained by Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, in a way that is so eminently suited to the requirements of the sophisticated mentality of the present age, only deceive themselves and their willing victims by their hypocritical professions and performances. These persons must not be confounded with the bona fide members of the flock. They might look like they're part of our group, that they're wearing tilak, they might be wearing saffron robes even, but they should never be confounded with the bona fide members of the flock. Those people who pretend to recognize the divine message of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, but they aren't actually following what he's saying in his teachings, to approach the pure devotee to receive these words. His prediction, the religious unity of the world. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda has predicted the consummation of religious unity of the world by the appearance of the only universal church, which bears the eternal designation of the Brahma Sampradaya, the universal church. He has given mankind the blessed assurance that all theistic churches will shortly merge in the one eternal spiritual community by the grace of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. The spiritual community is not circumscribed by the conditions of time and space, race and nationality. Mankind has been looking forward to this far-off divine event through the long ages. Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda has made the conception available in its practicable spiritual form to the open-minded empiricist who is prepared to undergo the process of enlightenment. The keystone of the ark has been laid, which will afford the needed shelter to all awakened animation under its ample encircling arms. So beautiful, huh? Ample encircling arms for all living entities, all awakened animation. The keystone of the arch has been laid, which will afford the needed shelter. Provides shelter to everyone, every living entity, with wide open arms. Those who would thoughtlessly allow their hollow pride of race, pseudo-knowledge, or pseudo-virtue to stand in the way of this long-hoped-for consummation would have to thank only themselves for not being incorporated in the spiritual society of all pure souls. These plain words need not be misrepresented by arrogant persons who are full of the vanity of empiric ignorance as the pronouncements of aggressive sectarianism. The aggressive pronouncement of the concrete truth is the crying necessity of the moment for silencing the aggressive propaganda of specific untruths that is being carried on all over the world by the preachers of empiric contrivances, for the amelioration of the hard lot of conditioned souls. Yeah, there are so many preachers who are proclaiming to be helping everybody and making it possible for everybody to make their lives better and stuff like that. But actually, they're not helping anybody really in the true sense, and so we must aggressively pronounce this concrete truth. This is the crying necessity of the moment to silence all these aggressive propaganda, all these untruths that's being carried on all over the world by the preachers of empiric contrivances for the amelioration of the hard lot of conditioned souls. The empiric propaganda clothes itself in the language of negative abstraction for deluding those who are engrossed in the selfish pursuit of worldly enjoyment. Right? There's the Mayavadis also. We have to get rid of this. We have to get rid of this. There's the negative abstraction. I think that's what he's saying, right? For deluding. But there's a positive and concrete function of the pure soul, which should not be perversely confounded with any utilitarian form of worldly activity. Mankind stands in need of that positive spiritual function of which the hypocritical impersonalists are in absolute ignorance. They're in complete ignorance of the positive spiritual function. They understand that, there's Maya, this is all Maya, everything's Maya, but they don't understand the positive, that there's, The positive function of the soul harmonizes the claims of extreme selfishness with those of extreme self-abnegation in the society of pure souls, even in this mundane world. In its concrete, realizable form, the function is perfectly inaccessible to the empiric understanding. Its imperfect and misleading conception alone is available by the study. Yeah, you can only, it's imperfect and misleading conception alone. That's what's available by the study of the scriptures to the conditioned soul that is not helped by the causeless grace of the pure devotees of Godhead. Jai. So this is published in Rays of the Harmonist, Volume 2, Number 2, Kartika, 1998, and also in number 26, 2014, the Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura edition of Rays of the Harmonist, if anybody wants to see this article. I also made it into this e-book, so you could read it on a Kindle or on your phone, and it's like all nicely laid out like this. So, yeah, that's our reading for today. Jai, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupāda ki Jai. All the acharyas in this, in the line of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupāda, who can reveal the words of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura to us. Ki Jai. Akash Prabhu is saying, even in material study, you can't study by your own, even if all explanations of answers are given. You need an authentic teacher to understand. Yes. Yes. Yes, very important point. And Vidyalala Sadidi is saying, thank you for these readings. Reading articles and books from our Guru Varga together have truly helped me grow and connect deeper with our Guru Parampara. I'm really grateful. And I'm equally grateful because without anybody to read with, I just wouldn't read because I'm very lazy. So I'm very grateful for everybody coming here and showing up every day and making it so that I myself discipline myself to read every day. And it's not just discipline, like it's actually, I look forward to the readings because it's, but because of all of you, so thank you. So tomorrow will be the day before our Bhaktivinoda Gita program, and but I wanted to read this because this is so important for us to contemplate. This is essential for us to understand before we start going into his kirtans. We have to understand that we can't just understand the like we need to really surrender to the pure devotee, and we have to understand that it's only the pure devotee who can give us any access to these prayers of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura that we'll be going through. So, and if we don't have this understanding and we don't remember this, then we won't get anything from the program. We might be able to memorize so many of his songs by heart, but we won't actually be able to get any feeling from them, like any like real. They won't have the effect on us. They won't shape us. They won't. So this is the all-important point that we always have to remember. So yeah, I think this article, I've read it a couple times here before, and I think I want to, like, this will just be a regular thing. We just keep on revisiting this article to make the point stronger and stronger. All right, so it's now 8 o'clock. That's time's up. So we'll end here. I'll just do a quick Mahamantra and Jai Vāṇī, and then, yeah, all right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the associates of Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, and all the followers of those associates Ki Jai, Jai Shri. Jai Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupāda ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Bhakti Daita Madhav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj ki jai. All these associates of Jagat Guru Śrīla Prabhupād ki jai. Jai Śrīla Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki jai. Jai Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Swapashad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki jai. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees, Akash Prabhu, Deepika Didi, Champak Mataji, and Phuleshwari Didi, Madhubala Didi, Ganga Mataji, and Kishori Mohan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams Prabhu, Vidya Lalasa Didi. Oh, and Shripad Bhaktivinoda Sajan Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams Maharaj, and all the other devotees watching. I'm guessing Indira Mataji and Raseshwari Mataji are there, and also pranams to all devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Vallabha Didi, Ananda Pradayini Didi, Vrinda Didi, and Anuradha Mataji. Dandavat Pranams. Right now I am in the Noida Mat. I think it's called the Sri Vinod Bihari Gaudiya Mat. I've never been here before. It's a beautiful mat. There are 10 brahmacharis here, and yeah, very active place. It's our Shripad Bhaktivedanta Sridhar Maharaj's mat. And yeah, so many, it's really nice. This morning the temple was full of all the congregation, the community here, and really beautiful place. If you're ever in Delhi, or Noida, I mean, it's a nice place to visit. All right. And then tomorrow, yeah, I'll be here another day, so we'll have another program from here. And then the day after tomorrow, we'll be doing our first day of our new Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura program, and I'll be doing it from Navadvip. So, all right, Hari Bol. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today? All right, see you tomorrow. I have no idea what we're going to do tomorrow. I have to think of it. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But yeah, I want to do something in preparation of our Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura program. And as I mentioned before at the beginning, if you want to follow our Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura program and you want to receive the form that I'm going to be sending out with all of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's songs, I'm going to be sending this out the day after tomorrow, all of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's songs on the topic of Sharanagati, with a summary of each song, and then you can select 4 songs from that list. I'll be sending that out. Actually, maybe I should send it out today so that everybody could have their song when we start the program. I'll have to think of that. Anyways, but if you want to join this program, you can go to my website, vineofdevotion.com, and you can subscribe there, and you will receive it in your email. All right. Hari Bol.